You don't chase. You don't beg. You don't force anyone to see your worth. Because the moment you pull away, the moment you stop trying so hard, something shifts. People don't value what's always available. They take it for granted. And maybe that's exactly what's been happening to you. You've been too accessible, too forgiving, too willing to pour love into people who never pour it back. But here's the truth. When you disappear, they notice. At first, they won't. They'll assume you'll always be there, that you'll answer their texts, pick up their calls, show up for them like you always have. But when you stop, when you finally put yourself first, that's when everything changes. They start to wonder. They start to feel your absence. Your energy was a gift. Your kindness, your patience, your love, it was rare. And the second you take it away, people start to realize what they lost. And here's the best part. By the time they realize, you won't even care anymore. Because stepping away isn't about making them miss you. It's about rediscovering yourself. It's about breaking free from the need for validation. It's about choosing you. And once you do that, you become unstoppable. The version of you that once begged for love, attention, or respect, gone. The version of you that waited for people to change, gone. You stop waiting, you stop hoping, and you start living. And as you heal, as you glow, as you become everything you were meant to be, watch what happens. They come back. They try to reconnect. They suddenly miss you, but by then you've outgrown them. So let them miss you. Let them wonder. Let them sit in the silence they once ignored. And you move forward. Because the real power, it was never in their hands. It was always in yours. There comes a moment when you realize you've been giving too much love, too much effort, too much of yourself to people who never truly saw your worth. And the painful truth, they only start noticing when you're no longer there. At first, it feels like a wound, the silence, the distance, the loneliness of pulling away from people you once gave your whole heart to. Maybe you've spent nights wondering if they even care, if they notice your absence, if they ever sit in bed scrolling through old messages, missing you the way you once missed them. And the hardest part, at first it feels like they don't, like your absence makes no difference, like they've moved on without a second thought. And that realization, it stings. It makes you question your value, makes you wonder if you were ever as important to them as they were to you. But here's what you don't see, what's happening beneath the surface. Because when you pull away, something shifts, not immediately, not all at once, but over time, the weight of your absence starts to settle in. The person who always answered, gone. The person who always showed up, always cared, always made an effort, no longer there. And that's when they start to feel it. That's when the memories start creeping in. The late night talks, the inside jokes, the way you made them feel, they start to realize how rare you were, how genuine your presence was, and suddenly, they miss you. But here's the catch. You're no longer waiting. You're no longer sitting by your phone hoping they'll reach out. You've been too busy healing, too busy becoming, too busy stepping into the strongest, most unshakable version of yourself. By the time they finally notice, by the time they finally wake up, you've already outgrown them. This is what happens when you stop chasing, when you stop pouring into people who never poured into you, when you finally see your own worth. So let them miss you. Let them wonder. Let them sit with the silence they once ignored. Because the moment you choose yourself, that's when everything changes. There comes a time when you feel it deep in your soul. You're done. Done chasing. Done begging for attention. Done waiting for someone to realize your worth. You've given and given, stretched yourself thin, hoping that maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see you the way you deserve to be seen. But they don't. In that moment, that breaking point, it hurts like hell. It's the moment when you realize you can't keep being the one who cares more. You can't keep watering a garden that was never yours to tend. You can't keep setting yourself on fire just to keep someone else warm. And as much as it hurts, as much as you want to hold on, you know something has to change, so you let go. And at first, it feels like the hardest thing you've ever done. You second guess yourself. You wonder if you made the right choice. You hear a song, see an old picture, And for a split second, the urge to go back, to reach out, to break your own silence is overwhelming. But then something happens, something powerful. The longer you stay away, the clearer things become. You start seeing reality for what it was, not what you wanted it to be. You realize you were carrying the entire relationship, the entire friendship, the entire connection on your back. And once you step away, once you stop trying, everything becomes crystal clear. They never appreciated you. They just got used to you. They got used to your presence, your kindness, your effort. They got comfortable knowing you'd always be there no matter how little they gave in return. But the moment you walk away, the moment you finally choose yourself, that's when they start to feel it. At first, they act like it doesn't matter, like your silence is nothing more than a passing phase. But then days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and suddenly they realize they miss you. Not just your presence, not just your words, but the way you made them feel, the way you brought light into their life without them even noticing. And by the time they finally see it, by the time they want you back, you've already healed. You've already moved on. Because that breaking point, it wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The moment you stopped breaking yourself for others and started building yourself instead. So let them miss you. Let them feel your absence. Let them sit with the silence they once ignored. And watch how everything changes, not for them, but for you. At first, it feels strange, the silence, the empty space where they used to be. You've spent so much time giving, loving, and showing up for them that now, without them, there's this unfamiliar quiet. A part of you wonders if you made the right choice, if walking away, if letting go was really what you needed. But then something shifts. You start to breathe a little easier. Start to feel lighter, as if a weight you didn't even realize you were carrying has finally been lifted. Because for the first time in a long time, you're no longer pouring into someone who never poured into you. You're no longer stretching yourself thin just to keep someone else comfortable. And that's the beginning of your healing. Healing isn't instant. It's not a switch you flip overnight. It's a process, a slow, sometimes painful, but deeply powerful process. At first, it's just surviving, taking things day by day, learning how to sit with the discomfort of missing someone without running back to them, learning how to hold your own hand when you're used to holding theirs. And then little by little, you start making choices for yourself. You wake up and focus on your own energy instead of checking your phone, hoping they've reached out. You replace overthinking with self-care. You start doing things not because you want to be seen, not because you're hoping they'll notice, but because you want to, because you deserve to. And as time passes, something amazing happens. You start enjoying your own company. You start setting boundaries, not just with them, but with yourself. You stop allowing people to take more than they give. You stop begging for love. You stop shrinking yourself just to fit into someone else's world. This is where transformation begins. And while you're busy healing, growing, becoming everything you were meant to be, they start to feel your absence. They start to wonder. They start to miss the way you made them feel, the way you listened, the way you understood them in ways no one else did. But here's the difference. By the time they realize what they lost, you've already found yourself. And that's the real power. Healing isn't about making them regret losing you. It's about making peace with yourself. It's about realizing that the love you kept giving to others, it was meant for you too. So let them miss you. Let them wonder. Let them sit with the silence they once ignored. And as for you, keep going, keep healing, because everything is about to change, not because of them, but because of you. There comes a point when you stop looking back, a moment when you no longer crave the closure you thought you needed, when you no longer wait for an apology that will never come. And that moment, that's when you become unstoppable, because strong women aren't born. They're made through pain, through loss, through nights of wondering why they weren't enough, only to realize later that they were always more than enough. The world just wasn't ready for them yet. You see, heartbreak, disappointment, being left out, being overlooked, these aren't the things that break you. They're the things that build you. They force you to wake up, to rise, to rebuild yourself piece by piece into a woman so strong, so confident, so unshakable that the very people who once ignored you suddenly can't look away. And it's not because you changed for them. No, it's because you finally changed for yourself. You stopped chasing people who wouldn't even take a step towards you. You stopped trying to prove your worth to those who were blind to it. You stopped settling for the bare minimum, for half love, for friendships and relationships that drained you more than they filled you. And instead, you started choosing yourself. You became the kind of woman who no longer begs for attention because she doesn't need it. The kind of woman who doesn't hold on to people who treat her like an option because she knows she's a priority. The kind of woman who walks away the first time she's disrespected, not the 10th. And when you become that woman, everything changes. People who once took you for granted start to realize what they lost. The ones who ignored your worth start watching you from a distance, wondering how they let you slip away. But by then, it's too late, because you've outgrown the version of you who used to wait around for them to change. And the best part? You don't even care, because now your energy is focused on things that actually matter, on your dreams, on your peace, on building a life so full, so beautiful, so powerful that the old you, the one who used to settle, used to wait, used to wonder if she was enough, wouldn't even recognize you. So let them miss you. Let them wonder. Let them sit in the silence they once ignored. And as for you, keep moving forward, keep becoming, keep growing into the kind of woman who never has to chase what's already meant for her. Because when you do that, you don't just change, you rise, you become unstoppable. And the world has no choice but to watch. There's something powerful about choosing yourself, about stepping away from the people who took you for granted, about reclaiming your time, your energy, your worth. At first, it feels unfamiliar. You've spent so long being available, being understanding, being the one who always made the effort. And now you're quiet. Now you're distant. Now you're no longer giving away your love for free. And that's when everything changes. People start noticing. They wonder why you aren't answering like you used to, why your energy feels different. And they see you glowing, growing, becoming someone they barely recognize. And suddenly, the version of you they once ignored is now the version they can't stop thinking about. Why? Because strength is attractive. Confidence is rare. And when you stop chasing, when you stop needing validation, when you start walking like you know you are enough, that's when you become unforgettable. But here's the best part. By the time they miss you, by the time they finally see your worth, you've already stepped into a whole new version of yourself. The version that no longer needs their attention, their approval, or their presence. The version that has healed, evolved, and found peace in her own company. And that's the beauty of it. You don't just disappear to make them miss you. You disappear to find yourself. And in doing so, you become the woman you never thought you could be. The woman who no longer seeks love in empty places. The woman who knows her own value and refuses to settle for anything less. So let them miss you. Let them wonder. Let them sit in the space you left behind. Because once you choose yourself, once you truly step into your power, there is no going back. Everything changes. And so do you. There is a version of you that existed before the heartbreak, before the disappointments, before the nights spent wondering why you weren't enough. And then there is the version of you that rises from it all, stronger, wiser, untouchable. You don't get there by chasing people who don't see your worth. You don't get there by begging to be chosen, by proving your value to those who were blind to it from the start. No, you get there by walking away, by stepping into your own light, by realizing that the love you kept trying to give to others, it was meant for you all along. And when you do that, when you finally let go, watch how everything shifts. The same people who overlooked you suddenly start watching you. The ones who dismissed you now feel your absence in ways they never expected. But here's the truth. By the time they notice, by the time they finally understand what you were worth, you will have already outgrown them. And that is the real power, because you are not broken, you are becoming the kind of woman who doesn't settle for less than she deserves, becoming the kind of woman who no longer waits for people to change, but instead changes her own life. Let them miss you, let them wonder, let them feel the silence they once ignored, because your story doesn't end with their absence.